Hey, business building warrior, thanks for joining me. This is Jim with Silent Sales Machine Radio. I've got a great episode today with a guest who raised his hand virtually when I posted in our Facebook group. And I said, hey, I want to talk to some new students, some people who are just trying to get some momentum on the strategies and the content that we teach around here. Maybe you're not having big success yet. Maybe you haven't figured it all out yet. We've certainly got hundreds of those stories on our podcast episodes, but let's have a coaching call with some of the newer students. Several hands went up. One of them was today's guest, Tom West. He's a military guy. He's been through some really tough challenges. We don't dive real deep into his backstory, but it's been one of those tough stories. He's not where he wants to be in life, and he's working his way forward. The things that are going to stand out to you today, I think, as you start to listen to this episode, are the fact that, man, he's jumped in with both feet, and he's actually starting to make some pretty exciting things happen. He sacrificed in a big way financially. I didn't realize this until today when he told me his story, but he was recently at our live event in Louisville. And some of the relationships he struck up there have already started to pay off in a really big way. And he explains the story. I won't steal any of his thunder, but you're going to love hearing that. And he's actually already finding numerous profitable listings that he can sell against using the proven Amazon course system, the Replen's training that you hear us talk about all the time. He's found a bunch of them, but he doesn't have the funds to get them yet. So he's done some creative things to start getting the funding that he needs to flip some of these profitable items. And he tells us what it is that he's selling and how he's selling it. He's even got some new strategies that he teaches us today that are really working well for him. And he's going to be creating content for us even in our private Replen's Facebook group, which I stick a link to in the show notes today, if you're interested in checking that out. Basically, if you're a proven Amazon course student, you should know there's about a dozen different ways to make money on Amazon. One of them, the way that we start almost all of our sellers, is all of our new students, is the Replen system. There's a private Facebook group just for people doing that model. They live, eat, breathe, sleep, the Replen's model. Well, Tom, our guest today, who's only been around a short time, has discovered a really cool technique and strategy. He's going to be sharing that as a video in the private Replen's group. And if you're interested in joining, you can certainly check into that. But before I bring my guest on, I just want to say that this is an episode that I think touches the entire spectrum of listeners to this show. I encourage you to give it a good 10, 15 minutes and you'll see what I'm talking about. Maybe you're brand new to e-commerce. Maybe this is your first episode you've ever listened to. You're going to love this episode. Maybe you're going through some life challenges. You're not where you want to be. You know, you've got to make some decisions and set your course in a better direction. This is a good episode for you. Maybe you've been around a long time and you just need a little boost of encouragement, maybe a few new techniques and strategies. We got that too. Very proud of this episode today because I think it hits the entire spectrum of the listenership to this show. And it sure was a pleasure for me to get to hang out with Tom and have a bit of a candid conversation after we ended the recording today. Just a great guy who's got a great future ahead of him. And I think he's going to be a leader in this community for a good time to come. So God bless you, business building warrior. Thanks for hanging out with Tom and I today. I'm going to get him on the line right now. Enjoy. So Tom, welcome to the program, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
It's my pleasure. We met just a few seconds ago. We hit the record button and let's get into your story.
Trying to figure out where to start because there's a long story. We don't have a whole lot of time. So I'll just try to be quick. So basically I found your group by accident, the whole podcast. I was in sales and I'd be listening to podcast episodes and reading books and stuff like that while I was driving between appointments, and Silent Sales came up under sales podcasts. So
sure.
Yeah. And I'd ran out of all the other stuff I listened to. So I listened to one, I was like, sounds like a nice guy. So I kind of dug in a little deeper, and I had actually sold on Amazon back in about 2014, I think it was. A couple little things here and there. It was no big deal, but I fell into that private label trap that everybody falls into. Quickly realized the capital that was going to be needed to start that. So just kind of fell to the side, never did anything with it. And once I learned how you guys do things here, I started back in about March. I started the PAC boot camp. with Delia as Delia. Sorry if I'm
Dahlia.
mispronouncing.
Yeah.
Delia. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's one of those names where until you hear it pronounced, you have no idea.
Yeah. So sorry, Delia. Um, but so went to the boot camp and I started with the used books. I did about, I think I spent maybe 50 to $100 in used books, sent all those in. Um, I did a little bit. It wasn't anything great. It was a little slow for me, so I found the Replens model. Put in about another $200 my own money. From April to right before the conference, I was at 4,300 in sales. About I think about 2,200 of it was profit. So
Nice.
yeah, but the struggle here is what happened was I got one of the scholarships to come to the conference, which I was super amazed by, and I spent all my profits to come down there and to networks. I knew the benefit that was going to be, and I was surely right because I talked to a couple people, some coaches in the community, and they are tremendously helping me out right now, and I couldn't be more grateful.
So you met some of the folks on the team, and let's talk through the event a little bit. I didn't realize this about your story, and again, I probably mentioned this a little bit in the introduction, but I put out a post in our Facebook group and said, "Hey, I want to talk to some people who are new to this. Maybe they're struggling. They're new to the community. Let's do a coaching call," because so many of our podcast episodes, we've got hundreds of success story episodes where people have kind of been through that initial rough, bumpy period, and the period of intense focused effort, kind of where you're at now, Tom. And they're on the other side of that, and they're sharing their success story. Well, let's bring in some people who are on the edge of that. They're not there yet. Maybe that'll be a little more relatable for some folks. And you're one of the folks that raised your hand and said, "Hey, I'd love to do it." Bumped you in here. And I didn't realize. So you were at our live event here a few weeks ago in Louisville, theprovenconference.com. It is the details on that. Although, the event's over now. It was in August of 2022. But you're sharing that experience of what it meant to go. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, as I just kind of filled in some gaps maybe for a new listener here. But talk us through that event. You said you met some coaches. It's and you sacrificed quite a bit to be there. Was it a good investment for you? Just talk us through that.
Yeah, so I'm an introvert. This is a little out of my realm. I don't like being on the camera like this, but
I appreciate you doing it, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's I've gotten that from this community, is putting myself in uncomfortable positions to get where I want to be.
It requires that to get there. Yes.
The relationship aspect is needed, and I knew that. I've listened to like all of your episodes. I've read your books, stuff like that. So I know the importance of having that relationship and the organic growth, things like that. So I knew the event was going to be awesome. I don't want to put any of their names out there, but there was a couple people I talked to, and they would kind of introduce me to another one, and I am now a shopper for one of them. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we are splitting the profits 50-50. I'm finding leads, and that wasn't the intention. One of the individuals had sent me to the other one because I had all of these ASINs, about I'd say 300, that I'd just been collecting because I didn't have the capital to buy them, but I was still researching, doing the work. And I asked him if he knew what I could do with that lead list to kind of get some of that capital back that I'd spent to come to the conference, and ended up turning into this other individual offering me this, splitting the profits. And that's, I'm speechless. Like, it's just amazing being
That's beautiful, Tom. Let me connect some dots for the listener here who maybe didn't follow that portion of your story. And I had no idea this had happened. Maybe I'd seen it at some point, but I had no idea. I'm just now connecting some dots. But it's become a very common model in our community that once you've got the skill set to find good listings, those underserved listings on Amazon, you will find yourself pretty quickly in a position where you don't have enough money to buy the profitable inventory that you're finding. It's a very common challenge, which is a great problem to have. If all the problems you can have in business, that's one of the beautiful problems to have, because there's many creative solutions at that point. You go get some outside funding, maybe funding from a family, or like you've done, you just partner up with one of the other great, students, coaches, leaders in our community who has an established Amazon account, and you make them a beautiful proposal. And, it's a mutually beneficial proposal. And you say, hey, I'm finding all this profitable inventory. I'm not really established yet. I don't have a mature account yet. You've got an established mature account. Can I just, connect with you and sell through your account? Again, split the net profit at the end. It's a beautiful arrangement. But now you're in a community, you got a bit of a team, and which reinforces all the messages we have around here. So it sounds like you're really onto something there. And you're only a few weeks into this arrangement. It's not like we've got 2 years of history to go on. That I have been seeing this work for a few years now with many other sellers as well. That's great. So that's a beautiful arrangement, Tom. Well done. So it was a great investment. It sounds like you're going to
absolutely. Yeah, there's
going
no
to
way.
Louisville. And where do you live?
Near Detroit.
Okay.
Not too far from you.
Yeah, not too far at all. Yeah, that's where Kevin, my buddy Kevin, who spoke Sunday, right?
Really?
Did you happen to sit on his presentation Sunday morning?
No, Sunday actually I did have to take off early because I had to get back.
Check out that video.
Yeah.
All the videos are still on there for you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's a Detroit guy too, but you'll love that.
You were the one of the 3 people that I wanted to meet. You were the only one I didn't get a chance to meet. It just didn't happen, and that's why this is amazing to me that we're getting to talk like this.
Oh, it's my honor too, buddy. And I apologize we didn't connect. It was just big enough a group that it was a bit of a challenge to see and meet everybody. It seems like at any given time you had a good number of people kind of standing around waiting, between sessions and such. So sorry we missed each other, but
yeah, well, and it wasn't even just you. It was me. So because of the struggle, I'm going to be real honest with most people. So the day we left to come drive down there for the conference, it was like an hour into our drive, right? We had just left the house. My girlfriend's nephew was watching the house for her. My girlfriend's car was repoed an hour after we left. Like this is kind of where we were at and struggling. So we so we got down there, and then the next day I wasn't really in a good headspace. I was there for the opening thing. I listened to you. I recorded your talk. I had a digital recorder. I wanted to take in everything I could, and I was still waiting for my Amazon payout from the pay period because that was what was paying for it. And there was a problem with my account. Something happened. Someone tried hacking it, so they froze all the pending transactions. So I had to kind of shuffle and pay for the room up front. And it was I stayed at the hotel because the networking, obviously I wanted to stay at the hotel, and it still was an incredible rate to be at a hotel like that. But so that's kind of what happened. So I wasn't in a great mind space the first day, and I went to a couple of them, and I was like, I need to get my head right and do what I came here to do. And just kind of, Friday just kind of reset. Saturday went back at it.
Wow. So you were in a pretty tight spot. And again, this is a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so I got to imagine, it's not like, I'm rolling in the dough now. All my financial problems all behind me now. But you have that spark of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I mean, feels like too weak of a word, but you've got a lot of that. You have a trajectory now.
That's the thing regardless if I made $1 from even being here, which I am, I know it's set up, but just the community and everything you guys have done for me, it's more of a mental health, mental well-being aspect than it is, a business aspect.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
You're going to, seriously, Tom, I can't overstate what I'm about to try to say. There are a lot of people who are going to hear this and say, okay, finally, someone I can relate to. I've listened to 300 of your episodes, Jim. Finally, right? This is me. Like, I missed rent last month. My landlord's letting me stay another month. I'm not sure what's up a month from now. I just, it's been rough. Either my own bad decisions or life circumstances or whatever. That's kind of irrelevant. And this is where I am right now. And and the message I would have for you and for someone who's kind of in that position is, man, don't start blaming other people, even if they kind of deserve it. I spend some time listening to a guy, Jordan Peterson. He talks a lot about Solzhenitsyn, a name that's new to me. I don't know if you've heard that before or not, but this is a guy who spent his life in the gulag under communist oppression, but he refused to blame his oppressors. I mean, that's some pretty good guys to blame. You got Stalin, Hitler, like blame those guys for your problems, right? No, he's like, no, what choices did I make? What did I do? What could I have done differently? How did I find myself here? And how could I have course corrected? And how can I continue to take responsibility for where I find myself and course correct out of this at set a point in the future that I'm aiming for without excuse, without blaming others? And I see a guy like you on that path who's, you look over your shoulder behind you, you're just a few inches out of the darkest part of this story. But here you are, and you did what it took, and you sacrificed in a big way to come be a part of an event. And those relationships are already starting to pay off for you. So to me, the thing I'm trying to say is congratulations. Most people don't take those first few steps.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know there's a whole story behind this that there's no need to dive into because there's 100 versions of it. And we've heard all of those stories before.
Mm-hmm.
But here you are now stepping out of that and doing what it takes. So congratulations, kudos to you. You've got my personal cell phone. If you need anything, let me know. And I think you've found how just warm and welcoming this community is when someone says, you know what, I'm serious about doing this.
Absolutely.
We got your back.
You always say, you got to find your people. I have, and that is where it all comes together.
You can't find your purpose till you find your people.
That's exactly it. Like after I got home from the conference and talked with one of the individuals I'm working with now, I literally happy cried. I don't remember the last time I did that. So yeah.
Man, that's amazing. I need to do more of these, man. This is one of those episodes that hits deep. I think we can all relate. We're all one or two bad decisions or bad life circumstances out of our control from being in a pretty rough spot. Anyone who's honest knows that. But we may or may not be able to control, a lot of those things that happen. But to say, you know what, here's where I am, but I'm going to move forward out of this. I'm not going to settle for it. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm not going to blame somebody else. I'm going to move out of this. That's what you're doing right now. And we have got your back, man. That's just what I want you to hear. No, and you mentioned some of the names of some of the folks you're working with. Add my name to that list. Let's make something beautiful happen, buddy.
Yeah. And you probably don't even remember, but when the OA Simplified course started,
sure.
you posted a picture of, how I roll on a Tuesday night. And you had the screen of your coaches up on and I was like, trying to be like you, Jim. You're like gamer. I was like ex-gamer. I don't know if you remember all that, but
that was you.
That was me.
I knew instantly, because that's some of the advice I give young men. It's pretty generic advice in many cases. But one of the things is, and you're younger than me, so I can call you a young man, dude, but is get off video games until you got your life in a good place, at least. Get off games, man.
It's,
yeah, that's great. Cause you had I saw your glowing keyboard or something and I called you a gamer, right? Yeah. I'm like, hey, you got a gamer keyboard, right? And he's holding it up for those who are listening. You got that green glowing light. I'm like, hey, you're a gamer. Like, no, ex-gamer. Yeah. Because I'm getting serious. You've got a trajectory. Like, paint a picture for me, if you will. Not that this is 100% exactly what life will be like, but I'm assuming you've painted a bit of a picture of where you'd like to be, say, 3-5 years from now? Like, I'm here now. Paint me that picture just a little bit. Let's speak it.
I started at 10 years and reverse engineered it.
Beautiful.
So
I had no idea you'd done that, but I can just see it. A guy who calls himself an ex-gamer has gone through that process.
Yeah, I just, I've broken it down to what I need to quit my corporate job. In sales, I sell bathroom remodels. The company is just chaotic and it's just not the environment I want. I want to, when me and my girlfriend got together, she has an 8-year-old daughter. They moved in with me. And so I'm trying to take care of both of them. They had a bad hand dealt to them. So I'm trying to help out there too.
Yeah, so you're stepping up and being the man that they need in their life. And
trying, yeah. But I haven't played, video games in a few years since we got together. Basically, I did that on the side, threw it into work. But I want to be here for them and with them and do what I can.
So what's it look like? What's it look like a few years from now? And just give us some specifics. Like, what are you aiming for? This trajectory, where's it taking you?
So I've already had to pivot a couple times, and I know I'll still have to pivot more. But adapting is my specialty. I did 10 years in the Army, so I can go to any situation and make my way through it. But I really like the idea of opening something local to help out, friends and family, and maybe have a warehouse to prep, or getting shoppers. There's quite a few things. I'll figure out the details of that when it gets to that stage. But like, I'm looking more short term. Like, I have not just daily but hourly goals. I break my time slots into hourly, what I need to do to make this much revenue and sales per month, and per the profit that I want. So right now, with the 50-50 profit sharing model that I'm doing with one of the coaches, obviously I want to look for a higher dollar amount because we're going to be splitting it. So I'm looking at quite a few things that might be a $30 profit. So I'm able to reach my goals way quicker. So I have to redo my whole list now. I have to go back through and figure it out from there.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you've kind of shortened the timeline of getting to where you wanted to be 10 years from now, because you're seeing the momentum and the possibilities of this model. That's awesome. No, I love your answer. Some people would answer that question and say, well, I'm going to be driving this car. I'm going to have a house that looks like this. And I'm going to have a pool in the back. And I'm going to and that's fine. I'm not much of a vision board kind of guy. And I could go into why. I'm more of a trajectory guy. I'm going to squeeze the most out of this day that I can. I don't know what's going to happen. I might get disrupted. Life has a way of throwing challenges and confusing things at you that you didn't anticipate. But I know what my trajectory is going to be. If I get knocked on my butt, first possible chance I have, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get back on this path. Where that takes me a year or 5 years from now, I don't know. The stuff I have, that doesn't matter. Am I there for the people that I love? Am I continuing to serve? You brought others into the picture in your answer. You want to bring in friends and family, and not just you can give them a check every month so they can be a part of building something with you. Man, that's a beautiful vision for the future. And this opportunity, e-commerce in general, specifically the Amazon stuff we teach around here, that can be the fuel for the whole thing. We've seen it happen over and over again.
I mean, it came from you. So listening to you and everybody in the community about giving back, it's just, when you provide a service to help people, it comes back tenfold, and it just feels good to help. And then not only with that, you're making your life better. Like, it's a win-win-win. Everybody wins.
It is impossible, and I don't misuse that word. It is impossible to run a profitable business without dramatically improving the lives of countless other people, most of whom you'll never meet. But to have people around you whose lives are being improved, that you interact with every day, man, that builds some incredible relationships. The reward of overcoming the challenges together, and talk about teamwork, man, and team building, right? So already just a few weeks in, I got to imagine you're feeling this, this relational. Have you had friends like this before? Might be in the Army. Thank you for your service, by the way. You probably got some pretty good friends that came out of that, but it's a different kind of reward, isn't it? When you're building something together that benefits and profits.
Yeah. I mean, I keep wanting to say his name just because I don't want to.
No need to out him.
Yeah, sure. I know, but it almost comes out. But I'm so grateful, and I'm so happy that I get to work with both of them. I've never had. You have to model. You have to see what successful people do to be successful. I had a good upbringing. My parents worked hard. I know I had the work ethic, but I never had anybody own their own business that I could talk to and guide me. You know what I mean? That is invaluable. There, you can't put a price on that, and that's just. I like I said, I really don't. I'm speechless with how this has all played out. I'm just so thankful, and it's crazy.
You may have heard me say it before, and it sounds like you're embracing it with intentionality. And this isn't my idea, but this is just me sharing thousands of years old biblical wisdom, basically. But the best friends and relationships you will ever have in life are the people that you're building something together with that serves others well. A business is a beautiful example of that. because as we said, it's impossible to build a profitable business without dramatically improving the lives of countless other people. It's impossible. Can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
So here you are setting about doing just that with some really good people. I know who some of those names are, and they're pouring into your life and you're pouring into theirs. And I've got to tell you, as much as you might think, Tom, and you mentioned this early on, even before we hit record, like, man, it's such an honor to meet you, Jim. And I've been listening to your podcast and you had some, very kind things to say. And I appreciate all of those. But the thing you have to understand is, in my position, it fuels me more than you realize to hear that the stuff that we're doing here is having an impact. There's an 8-year-old little girl in this story who has a very different trajectory because of the things we said that impacted and came into your head, that impacted your heart and changed your course of action. She's going to marry a different dude. Like, she's got a different trajectory now. That is very meaningful to me, that we can have that kind of impact. So thank you. Thank you.
I mean, like I said, I want to be where you're at, be able to change people's lives like that.
Well, you already are. That's what this platform is all about. It took me 20 years to get here, but now I have the benefit of being able to say, hey, Tom, man, jump on here, share from your heart. And here's the platform. All these downloads and listeners. And some people are going to write this one off and like, hey, he didn't give any Amazon tips yet. I'm done with this episode. Other people, this is going to be their repeat favorite episode. And you're going to have some people pulling themselves up out of the mud because of the stuff you're sharing.
Yeah. And that's what I don't want to give really tips because I feel like I don't feel, it's kind of like that imposter syndrome. Like I feel like I don't have the credibility to give people advice yet, but I know I'm doing something right. But it is more about the perseverance. I've been through a lot just in the past 5 years, but it's like every time something happens, it's like it can't get worse than this, and then it does next time, and then it does next time. So it finally, after so many times, it's like it could always be way worse. Like it's just you figure it out. Don't just let it happen to you. Figure out how to get where you want to be, and it'll, if you're a good person and you have the right goals and you're set on doing it, it'll happen.
Yeah, persistence is huge. Delayed gratification is huge. Right? The idea of, I'm going to build something long term. This is my trajectory. That's why it's so important to have that point out in the future that you're aiming towards, of what does it look like for me to, from where I am now. I love that you even said the word reverse engineered. Like, here's where I want to be. Let's break that down into, what do I have to do today to take steps in that direction? What are the 3 things I could do today that take me closer to that destination? And you do that over and over again, you find yourself pretty quickly in a great place. Well, I want to get into some specific. You mentioned some Amazon. I had no idea. You've already found a good number of profitable products. You just don't have the cash to buy them. So you've partnered up with one of the great leaders in our community. You set up an arrangement, and this is pretty common. As you build relationships, that's the benefit. We're not going to tell anyone specifically to say, hey, call this person and you can do exactly what Tom's doing. No, this is a relational thing. It's a conversational thing. You got in a car, drove from Detroit to Louisville, spent a couple of days with us, met the team, had a conversation. This thing fell into place. Those things happen all the time around here. So we're not going to hit on the specifics of that. But I do want to talk about the journey you made from knowing nothing to being able to find, you said, I think 300 profitable products. Like, what are you doing? What have you learned? How does that process work? Talk us through that.
So the basic Replens model, I started looking for minimum 5 drops a month, making sure it's been a consistent price recently. But if it kind of changes now for what I'm looking for. But when I started, I was looking, for at least 6 months of stability in pricing and seller count. Staying away from listings that don't have more than 1 or less than 3 sellers on it, because you don't want to get those IP complaints. Don't be going up against the brand owners, things like that. My shipments were pretty. I just, when I pack, I don't know, you can see all my kind of stuff behind me. I got everything that I order and send in. This is my little space. But I was so careful about the way I sent in. I mean, I would over sticker things. I would overpack them. I was like, no one's going to break my stuff. No one's messing up how I'm getting my stuff to my customer. I'm just very particular about how I did it. And my girlfriend loves it, and her daughter wanted to help. So I tried teaching her how to polybag, and she was helping me polybag these little toys that I was sending in, and it was really fun. But it really, I mean, I had about 10 ASINs, replens, but I was focused on one because I knew it was a seasonal replen. I looked at the charts, and you could see from about spring to about late fall, it's always higher in the price, and then the seller count drops off because it's at a local store that a lot of people don't realize. And the sale price that I could find it at, I was able to buy it for, I think it was $250, and it was selling for $21.
Yep.
So pretty good margins there.
Yeah.
And was selling probably about 40 or 50 a month. And there was 4 variations of it. So I had every variation sent in. And I was sharing the buy box with other sellers, and they were getting sales too. So I kind of focused a little too hard on that. And that's why I was trying to build up the rest of the replen arsenal. But I was like, well, let me get this quick capital built up. And yeah.
Well, that's a great explanation of the process. And for those who don't know, maybe this is your first podcast episode. The Replen system that Tom's talking about, that's what we teach in the Proven Amazon course. We teach you how to recognize those underserved listings on Amazon, where you can step in along, like Tom said, right alongside other sellers who are also making a profit. And the buy box rotates. Maybe there's 10 of you selling the same item, and the buy box is rotating through. And maybe one of those sellers gets really aggressively low in the price, and they sell all theirs out real quick. And then the buy box starts rotating again at the nice profitable prices. It's a very common model now in our community where we start our new students out, because it just flat out works. We teach you how to find these profitable listings, and sometimes they're profitable for a few weeks, sometimes a few months, others may last a few years. But if you're able to find these underserved listings, as Tom's demonstrated he's able to do now, then you can grow it as big and as fast as you want to do, doing what Tom just described, either shopping locally or shopping online. So that's the Replen system that we teach. That's hundreds of recent podcast episodes of people who have done it. But like we said, Tom, this episode is someone who's kind of new, maybe struggling, and I wanted to coach them forward, how they can grow, slow and steady. I love, but if we can improve your systems and maybe get you there a little faster and shorten the amount of time it takes you to continue this trajectory towards that vision that you have, that's what I want to do today. So are you hitting these specific challenges in your business? Anything that you want to run past me, or make good use of the time here? What else is going on with your new model? Or you may have things pretty dialed in and you just need some time to play it out. I mean, I don't want to talk you into problems you don't have.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, there's a few areas that I haven't touched on yet. I haven't sent in hazmat's FBA. Doing FBM on the coach's account that I'm doing. That's not really something we're doing yet until we get that relationship built up. Is it something I can handle? So that'll be an area I'm going to need to know. Meltables is something I'm coming across a lot that I haven't done before. I know we got to wait till October for that one. Yeah.
It sounds like you've been taking the content pretty seriously. You're understanding the terminology. There's a bit of a vocabulary shift that intimidates some people, but none of these concepts are complex. We use a lot of acronyms rather than saying fulfillment by Amazon. We say FBA.
Yeah, I forgot.
I mean, that quick, just within a matter of a couple months, you find yourself kind of using the lingo rather than saying proven Amazon course 5,000 times a day. We say pack. Yeah, I was in pack. I was in the pack module here yesterday, looking at blah blah blah. Right? I mean, we've got our own acronyms and language around here. But if someone new is listening to this, I just don't want them to be intimidated by any of that. This is stuff you can catch on to fairly quickly. One of the things I think, just to kind of help you out, you mentioned chocolates, meltables, that kind of thing. Here we are coming up as we're recording this. October is right around the corner, and you can sell a lot of those things, merchant fulfill. And I can tell you, merchant fulfilling candy in the fourth quarter, it's just, you're going to find winners everywhere. Now that you know how to research, you go to the local store, use the Keepa training that's in Proven Amazon course, but and run it all through that filter. It's not like every candy is going to sell great, but you can look at the history. You can kind of look at, it's a seasonal replen, right? But these little $3-5 bags of candy, maybe it's a bundle of 2 or 3 of them. It's an existing listing. Like, holy cow, there's 200 points of margin here. This is amazing, right?
It's insane.
And just flip those like crazy. Merchant fulfill them yourself. It's something that 8-year-olds can help you do, right?
Yeah.
3 bags every order, right? You can just have a total blast as we're coming in. So I think you're going to see a lot of really fun momentum, especially if you guys are set up to do a little bit of, like we talked about, merchant fulfilling, meaning for the new listeners, that means you're shipping yourself to the customer instead of sending it into Amazon's warehouse. Kind of like the eBay model. You can use Amazon with the same model we're all used to with eBay, where you wait for an order to come in and then you ship it to the customer. It's going to be crazy this year. Every year they've set a new record for like the past 10 years in online shopping on Amazon. So be ready for some of that. Be keeping an eye out for some of that seasonal, the meltable stuff, the chocolates, the candies. It goes crazy.
I've already found a couple, but I know I got to wait till October to get them. But so when you're first starting out, it's going to be frustrating. You can't think you're going to find something that works. You know what I mean? You have to go through the course. You have to fail to get where you want to be. So the first couple of weeks when I was going through the course, the Replens modules, I'd spend hours a day researching, like looking, because if I could find one in a week, I was happy at that point. I'm at the point now where if I can't find one in 10 minutes, I'm getting pretty mad. So it goes quick.
And this is, you're such a very short time into this. Yeah. It can be, if you're determined, it can be a pretty short learning curve here.
Oh yeah. You can't, you've said it before too. There is no lower hanging fruit. There is no other actual business model that is as low cost startup and simple to do. Yes, it's work, but it's simple if you follow what you are taught.
Yeah, it really is. And it's all driven by the fact that we're seeing a paradigm shift in the way people shop. People are shopping online like crazy. And even as big and successful as Amazon is as a company, they cannot keep their shelves stocked with all the stuff people want. They need the third-party seller marketplace. That's us. We're doing half of all of the orders that Amazon sends out. Half of everything that Amazon's selling any given day is sourced by them. The other half is sourced by us. We're out there hitting it, finding those gaps in the virtual store space that are underserved, and we're filling those gaps. And we've got it methodically dialed in, as methodically as anyone else has. So yeah, it's a low-hanging fruit opportunity for sure. Well, how do you find Replens? Let's give some people maybe some nuggets. You're more advanced than I thought you might be when I started this call today. Talk us through like some of the most recent Replens you found. Don't give away your exact products. We don't need to create 1,000 competitors for you on anything specific, but talk us through how you found it, what you did.
So that's actually something I'm working on with someone else in the community. We were actually going to do a webinar next week and try to give out some content to the group. Because right now I'm using tactical arbitrage. So it's a software that literally does your work for you. You put in some filters. It takes quite a while to learn, but if you know what you're looking for on, the research that you're doing, you put it in. That's expensive. It's like $100 a month. For someone starting out, that's an expense you can't necessarily afford. So I'm trying to come up with a similar option that is free and maybe not as quick, but it is more accurate and can get the job done a little bit quicker. But basically, the Keepa product finder tool that is, you can, all day, you just play around on there. You don't even have to. You need to watch the videos, but you can just start messing with the numbers on there and you'll start to see trends and patterns and you'll realize what you should be putting in there to look for.
Did you go through Brian Olson's advanced Keepa strategy course? Yeah, that's kind of what you're talking about. I was like kind of digging into and we love Keepa around here. Just to fill in a gap before I turn Tom loose again, go back and listen to podcast episode 369. We talk about Keepa, why we love it. This tool costs $20 a month. It's by far the best tool for third-party sellers, because it does things that no other tool can do. And go listen to that episode. You'll figure out why. I won't explain now. But it has some advanced features that are just amazing. And you're digging into that a little bit, finding some of these underserved listings. That's beautiful. Well done, man. So you really dove in, and not only did you go through the Replens course, but you're hitting some of these bonus modules, the advanced Keepa training, and you're diving in deep. Good job, buddy.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually, because after I watched that advanced sourcing video from Brian, I was thinking of another way that could be used. So you can search by keywords in there and brands and things like that, right? Well, on the product finder tool, if you type in a brand, it's just one brand that it adds. Instead of having to type every single one and click it and do things like that, you can actually add a hashtag or a pound sign, I think it is, and you can use the same formula, that Brian teaches for the competitive analysis, and use that for keywords, and you can use it for brands as well. There's multiple ways to use that. So I posted that in the Replens group. Hey, a little tip I just found, and just shared it. But yeah, that's some stuff that you can do. There's so many things you can do with Keepa. You can't do anything without Keepa, actually.
Yeah, it's a vital tool for this model for sure. Once you start to understand it, it's so expansive. And I love that you've already come up with a slight new twist, and you're going to do some webinar training in our private Replens Facebook group. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Even as a new student, you're bringing some value to the table. For those who don't know, I'll stick a link in the show notes. We do have a private Facebook group. It's not the same as our free 70,000 member group. There's a link to that at silentjim.com. And that anybody can join that. But if you really lock into the Replens model that we teach as the foundational business model of the Proven Amazon course, and you want to hang out with a couple thousand other people who are doing it at a serious level, that's our private Replens Facebook group. And I'll stick a link, like I said, in the show notes so you can go join it. And we have training webinars and advanced tips and strategies. It's for people who live, eat, and breathe this thing. And there's always new things to learn in there. So yeah, it's a few bucks a month, but very much worth the investment if you're a serious Replens business builder. So that's awesome. You're going to do a training webinar for us already. I didn't even realize that was scheduled. Yeah, that group's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because we're still working on it. We got to come up with a couple things, but yeah, I'm super excited about that. It was basically a way for me to give back, because, like I said, I've gotten so much out of this community. I wanted to do this out of the kindness of my heart, just because it came from the concept of basically me trying to solve a problem. My girlfriend wants to learn how to do the sourcing, the technical aspect. She knows how to pack and do all that, but she wants to know how to find things. So she's not real tech savvy. So I was trying, how can I break this down in the simplest way? And that's kind of where this originated. We were trying to think of a name for it, and I think we're still working on it, but sourcing on a budget, I think, was something we were playing around with, but it's going to be pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations to you on figuring that out. And you're kind of tapping already into, this is the leadership journey, if you will, that I've seen play out. I've been doing this 20 years now, and different people take different amounts of time to go from stage to stage. And sometimes people stop, maybe at stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3, but there's stages to becoming a leader in the e-commerce space while you're building a profitable product business. And some people, they stay at stage 1, meaning they're putting money in the bank. They build a beautiful business. They're paying their bills. They've got something to be proud of. And that's awesome. But step 2 always involves using your mouth, sharing your story, building relationships, having conversations, attending an event. Using your mouth is important. If you'd have come to Louisville and hadn't said a word to anybody the whole time, it would have been a borderline useless event for you, right? So you got to use your mouth, speak up, build relationships. Private message, yeah, that's great. Zoom, yeah, that's great. Face-to-face, even better. So that's your step 2. And that kind of leads you gently into, and you're illustrating it beautifully, is you start to say, hey, I see everything you guys have built here, and I'm adding my own set of, my personality, my skill set, my background, my curiosities. And I've discovered something that's a little different that I can add into this community of content. And now you start to set yourself apart as a teacher/leader, an early stage. That's kind of like stage 3. Right? You establish yourself there. You get people saying, wow, thanks. That content really changed. Thank you for that. And now you're kind of coming into that inner core of leadership, and you're kind of helping shape the direction of. And very few people go through all those stages. And I don't know that I've ever laid it out that way before, but that's kind of the think of it as a bullseye. You got people out here, strangers. And as you get further in, closer to the center of the bullseye, well, it's the core team of us who are kind of making decisions about, what garbage are we keeping out of the community, which is a lot of the work. Trust me. What are we letting in front of the eyeballs of the community that works, that we've proven, that we've tested? And that's a lot of the journey. So you're kind of already on that leadership journey. I didn't even realize. I mean, you're deeper into this community than I even realized, Tom. You're doing a great job, man.
Yes, thanks. Sorry. Yeah, it was, I don't know if it was another post or that one we were talking about with the gamer, but I had said to you one day, I was like, I'm going to be a coach for you one day. I don't know when, but I'm going to be a coach. And it's like I said, it's going to happen.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. What date do you put on it? Because I've got pretty good at putting these trajectories on people based on their attitude, their determination, their commitment to the process. I've got a pretty accurate, barring a health challenge or some major life disruption, I've gotten pretty good at kind of seeing where people are now, because I've seen it 100 times in a row. When do you think you're going to be a coach? At what point?
I was shooting for within the next year.
Yeah. I would say I'd be shocked if you're not a coach with us within 6 months.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, yeah, just with like what I'm able to do now and how I'm able to scale so quickly because of how generous the individuals I'm working with are, that's really going to help. And I try to answer, questions in the group, even though I'm not, haven't been here that long. But if I think I know that you or, Jimmy Smith or anybody that is really knows what they're talking about, if I think they would say that in this situation, I try to fill in for them and help them out so they don't have to answer everybody's questions. And I try to answer it. And I'll say, double check with somebody that really knows their stuff, but this is what I think would be the best.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Every time I answer a question, I've got the same thing in my back of my head. It's like, yeah, I've been doing this a while, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of people a lot smarter than me in this community. The vast majority of people who've been doing this any length of time have passed me up in many, many ways. And you could show me things. That's the beauty of this business model, is no matter how long you've been doing it, if you're humble enough to say, hey, I don't know all there is to know, teach me something. You can learn from literally every person in this community because of the unique approach they have, the challenges they've seen. You've already seen challenges that even in my 20 years, I have never seen that challenge. There's plenty of things you could teach me as a guy who's been in this a few months, even though I've been selling for 12 plus years on Amazon. You could teach me all kinds of things that I don't know yet. And vice versa, of course, is true, but that's to be expected. But yeah, we don't belittle anybody for their lack of experience. If you're new, your background has a lot of assets and things that we can all draw upon as we share. Man, this has been a very encouraging episode. And I had no idea I was going to learn some brand new technical things from a guy who's, the whole theme was supposed to be, hey, I'm kind of struggling. Can you coach me forward a little bit? And here you are, man. You're already hitting home runs, dude. So
yeah, like I said, because I am still in that spot. Like I just started working with them. Like we haven't gotten, the payouts yet, but I know where it's going, so I know it's going to be good. But yeah. So that's why I just want everyone to know, like, the importance of building the relationships. Because if I hadn't come to the conference, there's no way I'd be smiling as much as I am right
now. Yeah. And for people who are thinking, oh man, I got to wait till next year's conference. No. That's an excuse.
Yep.
Let's strike that one down right now. You can get the videos from the event, theprovenconference.com, and see what Tom's talking about. Go grab those videos, but reach out, you build relationships, answer questions, find out, there's a really easy way in the Facebook group, 70,000 of us, you can find out who lives near you. Odds are there's a few people in your zip code or area of the world who are doing this business model. Connect with them, have a meal together. And I used to have the theory, I've corrected on something for about 15, maybe even 18 years of leadership in the e-commerce arena. I used to think that in order to have a good mastermind gathering of business building warriors meant you needed to have at least a few pretty experienced people mixed in with the newer people. And that was the ideal mix set. I'm discovering now that it really doesn't matter what the experience level is, as evidenced by, these Kickstart groups that we're doing for the the boot camps we're doing for the new Proven Amazon course students. When you get the Proven Amazon course, you can opt into a boot camp, and that puts you into a group of people, and we're training them all together. They're all brand new. Well, we're seeing pretty organically, one after the other, these groups kind of form a mastermind, and it becomes this incredible group that's spurring each other forward and doing great things. They were all brand new a month ago, and here they are relying and leaning on each other, getting to know each other. Not in all cases, but it happens often enough that we're saying it's forced me to change my philosophy about what a good mastermind looks like. If a good mastermind is a group of people who are trying to head in the same direction, that's it.
Yeah, figuring it out together.
Figure it out together. Iron sharpens iron. Hold each other accountable. Hey, I saw this resource over here, and you bring it in. Like, hey, we should talk about this next week, guys. Right? And you don't need to have that expert guru. I mean, we learned that even today. One of the most experienced Amazon Replen sellers in the world, with one of the newest, and I'm teaching you things, which is, again, is to be expected, but you're teaching me things.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I'd say, the biggest advice, because that was the hardest thing for me, was because I am pretty introverted and don't talk to a lot of people. That is important. You need to talk. You need to talk to people. Yes, it doesn't matter what about. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to get out there and make those relationships, ask questions, answer questions. Whatever you got to do, you're going to be uncomfortable, but you got to do it, and eventually it'll become more comfortable.
My wife and I taught parenting training for a while, a class that's based on Hebrew biblical principles. They've been passed down for thousands of years. And one of them is, it's okay to be shy, or with a kid, we call it shy, or an introvert is the personality trait. It's okay. But, there's nothing wrong with it. Actually, so there's a lot of beautiful things that go into being an introvert, but it's not okay to be rude, and it's not okay to isolate yourself. Right? Yeah. So we teach our kids when they're little, it's not okay to hide behind mommy's leg. It's okay to be a little afraid when you meet new people, but it's not okay to hide and put your head down. You stand out in front of mommy, you look them in the eye, and you say, "Hi, my name is Chase," and you shake their hand. Not like a dead fish, but a firm grip. And we teach and we practice and we role play, and we train ourselves out of that. And this is the same thing we have to do as entrepreneurs. Okay, so you're an introvert. Well, that means you like quiet times of reflection. That means you need time to recover when you've been in a group of people. Those are all fine things. But it doesn't mean I avoid Zoom calls. It doesn't mean I avoid getting together in small groups. It doesn't mean I avoid making new relationships. Those are not okay. You've got to grow out of that. You've got to push yourself past those things, because it will hold you back.
Yeah, I forget who it was that said it. I can't remember if it was Churchill. I'm probably wrong, but it's courage isn't the absence of fear. It's having the fear and facing it. That's what I try to live by, and why I've been more uncomfortable lately than I have been my whole life, because I've been trying new things and putting myself out there, and it's paying off.
Yeah, in big ways.
Oh yeah, unbelievable way.
Yeah, man, this is awesome, Tom. It truly is a pleasure doing this, man. It's such a blessing. I hope it does you as much benefit as it's doing me and the listeners too, as just an extra incalculable benefit of the people that could be encouraged by this. Well, what else is on your mind? What else do you want to talk through, if anything? I've got another episode with another new student actually here, just on the heel of this one. I don't have a whole lot more time, but what else is on your list, buddy?
I don't know. I'm just so, like I said, I'm just so ecstatic to be talking to you, and this is the coolest thing ever to me. So I'm sorry to the audience, but I'm kind of fanboying out. So it's not
you'll
really
get over
sure.
that, man.
I just hope
you'll get over that. Stick around long enough, and you'll hear me say enough stupid things and make enough mistakes that you'll get over it, dude. No, this is just family. We do this together. We don't expect perfection out of anybody, and but integrity, hard work, openly sharing. Worldview means a lot around here in regards to an abundance mindset. For every challenge, there's 30 solutions, and opposition always brings opportunity. Those kinds of things. It sounds kind of fluffy, pie in the sky sounding at first when you hear it. Like, no, those principles really do work. When we see someone down, we're like, hey, let's think through some creative solutions to get around, through, over, past this, and after 20 years, I haven't seen that challenge yet. That just, okay, well, game over. Sorry, dude. No, if you've got relationships, there's always a path forward every single time. The answer to every challenge you'll face is a person that you can reach out to in this community, or someone that knows from this community. And there's always a path forward every single time. And you just kind of learn to lean into that.
Yeah. And just the biggest advice, like I said, you can't make excuses. Like in the beginning, I kind of set higher goals for myself than what are actually achievable in a realistic time frame. So I thought, within a few months, I'm going to be taking the whole family to Disneyland and doing all this. And obviously I had to readjust that. But the point is, like, I realized what it was going to take to get where I wanted to be. I'm like, all right, it's going to take a little bit longer. Let's see how I can figure out a way to make it quicker. I didn't want to use credit, didn't want to use anything like that. I'm like, how can I could have gone to friends and family, asking for investing, but I had to have something to show. But before I did all that, finding the community, my idea was, how can I use the leads that I've collected to somehow get some capital back into my business? And that turned into something else. So you can't make excuses for not having something. You got to figure it out, get creative. You're not going to be able to find a YouTube video on how to do this exact thing to make this kind of money. You got to use your brain and figure out how to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll give you the basic tools and basic knowledge, but your creativity, hard work, relationships, those are all going to factor in to you setting a trajectory towards success. Absolutely. It's something I just wanted to run this past you. Maybe it's a good ending point here, but it occurs to me, I enjoy video games. I used to play, I was an arcade guy in the 80s, 90s. So it doesn't have the same appeal for me anymore, but I understand the appeal for sure. And I could definitely get myself back there. But it occurs to me that it's kind of a weak replacement. The gaming experience is a weak replacement for the real thing of building a business, of conquering the territory. When it just as a guy, I don't know how if females process it necessarily the same way. There's plenty of female gamers, but I'm just saying there's that building a kingdom and achieving that next level and accomplishing. But that's all in a game, and you turn it off and it kind of vanishes. In the real world, you got real relationships, and the reward is so much bigger and the risks are real. It's just such a more internal. It's almost like the difference between, not to go too deep on this, but it's like the difference between pornography and being in a real loving relationship, if you will, right? It's just like one's toxic and kind of truly a waste and sad. Yeah. And the other is just beautiful. One of the coolest things God gave us. We've created this weak substitute. And, this isn't me knocking video games. So I'm just saying, man, if you're there, and I want to hear kind of from you, contrast, is there a kind of a similar high there, but this one is just like a real, tangible, healthy feeling, energizing high, if you will?
Yeah. And like I said, so I still have the gaming setup and stuff, but I really haven't really been into video games for probably about 4 years now. But I remember listening to another podcast episode that you had somebody on. I can't remember his name, but he's doing really well. He's a success story, and he was a prior gamer. And you guys, someone had said something like that he thought that the reason we get so engaged with the games, it's because we're creating our own little world. So now when you're doing this business, it is your world. It's your real world. So I do see the appeal there a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how they translate because it's been a few years, but I would much rather be on the computer seeing dollar signs than action figures running across the screen.
For sure. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, man. Well, hopefully that benefits someone out there that was,
I hope so.
If we can challenge somebody to take 2 or 3 hours off Netflix and video games a week and build a business that changes the trajectory of their family, man, we've mission accomplished, right? Well, Tom, this was a pleasure, buddy.
It was definitely a pleasure for me.
Yeah, and I'm available. Like I said, man, you got my cell phone. If you need anything, I'm here, brother. So just let me know. But I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a second and thank you for hanging out with Tom and I today. We both certainly benefited. We'd never met till a few minutes before I hit the recording button today. But man, I am just so thrilled to get to know this guy. And hopefully you feel the benefit of our exchange today and you feel challenged and encouraged by that. If we can serve you in any way, please reach out. You can jump over to silentjimdotcom. You can see hundreds of success story podcast episodes. We're doing a handful of these newer student episodes too, which are turned into some really incredible content, in my opinion. But leave us some feedback. If you wouldn't mind, here's one of the big favors you can do for us as well. Subscribe on iTunes. That really boosts us in the rank and helps us propel this message out even further. There's a lot of scammers and clowns in the e-commerce arena. I'm proud of the fact that our podcast has kind of risen to the top, but there's still plenty of new territory for us to gain in that arena where we've got real people building real businesses, talking about hard work, commitment to the process, not this pie in the sky, shiny object syndrome that so many people have, but real lives, real people, and doing the work that it takes to build a real business. And so if you want more of that kind of content for people out there, hey, subscribe on iTunes. That's a huge help for us. So, hey, Tom, one last time, buddy. I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you and the whole community, Jim.
Thank you, my friend. We'll talk again soon. And to all the listeners out there, the business building warriors, we're praying for you. We're in your corner. God bless you. We love serving you. Please reach out if there's any way that we can help you at all. We'll talk to you again with another new episode. Hey, before I let you go, one last quick announcement. We've got a new sponsor for the program. If you have an extra Amazon account that you're not using, this happens sometimes. People have more than one Amazon account, or you know somebody that has an account they're not using. It could be worth a significant amount of money, and you can sell that to some reputable buyers who see a lot of value in it, and then they legally move it to another Amazon seller who needs an account that's got some miles on it. If you're interested in this, visit silentjim.com/sell my account. Again, silentjim.com/sell my account. All one word. And you can get some more details. Reach out to them, see if it's of interest to you. Your account may be worth more than you realize.